Welcome to the City of Isani Committee of a Whole meeting for Tuesday, March 15th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for Pledge Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doing roll call, all council members are present. Any public comment at this time? Our mass amount of people in our audience have no comments, so let's move on to the committee meeting items. Number 1, City Council agenda request.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do have a request for Council to review a complaint by Mr. Ben Smith. He is not here at the meeting at this time. My recommendation is that we move him to later on in the meeting to see if he does attend to make his request.
We'll move that to E4 then, or E4, yep. Let's move on to E2 then, Public Works updates.
Mayor and City Council, for Public Works updates, crews have completed their tree trimming list. That was a list that was created over last summer that they finish annually over winter. They spent a lot of time plowing snow this season, so I think with the weather, hopefully we're past that now. The remaining 17 streetlights downtown and in Bluebird Park will be converted to an LED light this spring. It also turns out there's a rebate from Connexus for $35 per light. We'll be taking advantage of that rebate. Been some potholes showing up around town, so the guys have been out working on those, taking care of those, filling those up. With that little bit of rain we got the last snowfall and the warmer weather, the guys have been out opening up catch basins. Many repairs were made to the street sweeper over winter. Scott had all kinds of stuff he did to that this winter that he's got all finished up, ready to go. They're going to continue brush cutting some storm ponds as it's still frozen as routine maintenance only. The lift station pumps have been ordered and replaced this spring. The wastewater treatment plant is now running with the filters and the clarifiers. We shut them down over winter and, to do some maintenance. Now they're all started back up again now. We're back in regular running mode there. We did receive the transfer pump that was in the capital improvement plan, and as the ponds begin to thaw, we do sometimes have a little odor, so that pump will be used for those ponds and trying to clear up that odor that could possibly take place. The meter changeout continues to sit on hold. We're still waiting for the NICOR connectors for the meters. I've had a couple of ship dates on those. I haven't showed yet, but I'm hoping in the next week or so that we get those in. We're running the backup chlorine system right now at the water plant. We do that annually every spring too, or late winter I should say. It gives us time to do maintenance on the chlorine pumps and all that kind of stuff that's up there for that. They did spend some time replacing some of the piping in the Myox room. They were just getting a lot of leaks up there, so they tore it all apart and replaced it. The sledding hill and the pleasure rink at Bluebird Park, I've seen a significant amount of thawing lately, and those are both a success for winter used frequently. And that's what I have for Public Works updates.
Any questions by the council? Good job as always, Mr. Sylvester. Let's move on to E3, replacement of the main lift station generator discussion. I'm assuming this is between Ms. Wood and Mr. Sylvester on this one, since we wondered why we were replacing that already.
I think with that, we're going to kick it over to Mr. Becker. He's going to talk on this item first.
Mr. Becker.
All right, so with regard to the age, useful life, and the planned replacement, this is a generator for the main lift station installed in 1996. In the capital improvement plan, we consider 30 years to be useful life on that. That would put the replacement at 2026. However, we pulled that forward in light of the federal COVID dollars that we said we would spend in water and sewer, so we pulled that project forward. The idea there is a couple-fold. Is one, by pulling it forward, we have currently a use for that used pump, or that used generator, right? That would be a good fit at the new PD building. We otherwise won't have a generator. That would be a good fit. It'll still have some useful life. The other key feature there is, I've spoken to the council before about there are a few things at the city that have to work every single time. The examples I've provided in the past are tasers, firearms, and squad vehicles. They just have to work every time. You don't wait until they don't work. You replace them ahead of time. If I was going to add a fourth to the list, it would be the generator at the main lift station. The main lift station pumps run every 7 minutes. They have to have power. If power goes out and the generator isn't working, I don't think there's any scenario where we have anything more than 2 hours before we've got sewage backing up into basements. So
Is that the only one we didn't replace? I think Councilman
Correct,
Gordon
'cause
and
that-
I were on the same page, as we
Yeah.
thought they were all done.
No, because that one was existing, and at the time, we were like, well, this has still got a fair amount of useful life. We don't need to do that one. Let's get the other ones up to snuff. But if we were going to have one that's absolutely essential that we replace before it breaks down, that would be the one that is absolutely essential, simply because it's going to be on every 7 minutes. Like I said, if there's no power and those pumps aren't running,
The other thing I'd like to add to that is the generators that we did purchase and install were for lift stations that did not have them prior. One other generator that will come up, and I'm not exactly sure what year, but just so council's aware, is also our our generator at our water treatment plant. That one did not get replaced back when we did that project either. So that's two, this one and that other one.
I think it's a pretty good fit, that if you're gonna be able to take it and get some life out of it, put it in PD, that means that's one other cost we don't have to put into the PD for right now.
Yeah, my only question on it really was that I think the reason that was given was that Excel required it to be, or wanted it to be a higher output or something like
Efficiency
that.
rating
or-
or something.
What'd you
Yeah.
say?
Efficiency rating or
Yeah,
something
right,
like
and so
that.
I was like, well, is that the only reason we're replacing it? I mean, what's wrong with that, you know? So that was the reason for the question, but no, that makes perfect sense, so I'm fine with doing it.
That's what it was. We questioned on if we're being forced, why are they forcing us if it works okay?
Yeah, but no, I think that's, I agree with Councilman Gordon, I'm for it, I think it's a good idea. PD needs to have a generator, and, if we can get few years out of that thing for them, Travis can figure out how to squeak some more money out of his budget to replace it when it needs to be replaced.
okay. Yeah, then we'll have that queued up on the council agenda as well then. So
Yep, it
that's
is
where I'm
going
at.
on this evening.
So that will just be added to the consent agenda again?
It is
Right.
still back on it is
Yeah.
currently on the consent agenda. We could have pulled it if need be, but it is on there.
Alrighty then.
Makes sense now.
Totally does.
Well, we just didn't have any info. on
Yeah,
this
we didn't.
Before, so.
That's what happens when you leave Miss Wood.
True statement. True statement.
Twice in my career, I know, can't live those two down.
That's now.
Well, Becker wasn't here either, so. No, you were here?
I was here, I just wasn't prepared for the question.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I had a few other things on my plate that night, so.
He made a very ugly Josie Wood that day.
Yeah. Her hair was a little shorter that day.
Josie's a lot better looking, I hate to tell ya.
But he has a better tie selection than Josie. So.
That is true. I don't know about that. Then you, he's well dressed, yes. All right, let's move on to E4, the DNR Outdoor Recreation Grant Update.
Thank you, Mayor and Committee. So applications for the DNR Outdoor Recreation Grant are due at the end of the month. So we wanted to provide you with an update on what we are considering adding into that proposal. So as we discussed in February, the majority of the grant will be highlighting the splash pad as a major park amenity. If awarded, we would receive a large portion of the funding to be able to make the splash pad happen. So in completing the application, we identified an opportunity to include additional amenities that would help increase the fundability of our proposal and would also enhance the chances that grant reviewers find it to be a valuable project. So in reviewing the Bluebird Park restrooms, increased costs have placed that project over budget by approximately $50,000. So we looked at that as an opportunity to include the restrooms into this grant application, which by doing so creates a bigger footprint for the requests that we're making. It also allows us to request more funding. So with that included, we are able to request $300,000 in funding instead of the $218,000 that we were originally looking at. So as we kind of went through that proposal and the application, realizing that the grant is funded through the DNR, there is a large preference towards projects that are environmentally friendly and that also have ADA accessibility features included. So to enhance that environmental aspect, we looked at the that green space is in Bluebird Park, and looked at adding in some pollinator gardens that would not only help the visual aspects of the park, but also create some of that environmental impact, allow some wildlife habitats to be brought back into the park, which is something that the DNR is consistently looking for in those projects. And then to further increase the potential support and to also raise the number of users in the park that this funding would appeal to, we also looked at adding some opportunities to create a fitness trail. So adding different fitness equipment stations throughout the trail in Bluebird Park, just to be able to reach a bigger audience, to be able to also increase the valuable aspects of the proposal that we're submitting. So with all of those, what we are looking at is the total project that we are proposing is a $736,000 project. But of that, we would be requesting $300,000 in funding, and the city would be putting up just that $436,000 that is in the CIP already for the restrooms and for the splash pad project. So the two additional features in there, the pollinator gardens, the fitness equipment, would be additional things that we would be able to support with the grant funding without having to put any more city funding into it. So the pictures that are on here, just if you want examples, so the first page is the proposed, some of the splash pad look that we are working with, and then the second page is the full footprint of the park that includes those proposed features.
So can you remind me, what did we originally approve for this splash pad? What was the original improvement?
So nothing has been approved yet. In the conversation we had in February, we opted to move forward with that full budget to look for a match funding.
I thought we approved a certain amount at one time. We didn't
So
approve
for
that?
436,000 was what we were going for to be able to put that full budget to use.
Okay.
The only thing I
And the
gotta say,
bathrooms weren't included on that, right?
No, that was just splash pad.
Okay.
the only thing I gotta say is, you know, grants aren't guaranteed.
Right.
And I think if we have to make a decision, I think we should at least apply for that grant right now. Because if it's gotta be done by the end of this month, I mean, it takes time for those things to come through.
I thought we originally talked about $280,000 or something. All of a sudden now we're putting the city monies in at $436,000. Is that right?
So to clarify, so 218,000 is what is in the CIP for the splash pad. So we opted to put that full budget in for grant funding, which would have made it a $436,000 project. We also have 218,000 in the CIP for the restrooms, so we'd be putting that forward as well. But the full grant funding, the total that we can go for is 300,000.
Is that what we originally agreed to, is move forward the bathrooms too? I thought we put that off for some reason.
Yep, so both were moved to next year to look at. So the only reason we're approaching it right now is to apply for grant funding. If we
Right.
don't get grant funding, then we'll come back to the drawing board and say, okay, let's see if these are viable projects. So right now, nothing is committed to. It's just saying, we have this plan. If the state will help us fund this plan, this is what we can get, and this is what we can move forward to increase, the features that are in Bluebird Park. If we don't get the grant funding, then no harm, no foul. We don't have to move forward with either.
And
of
we
these.
downshift.
Yeah, but I mean, can we downshift before we even, can we do a smaller grant application? I mean, all of a sudden, we apply for the grant and we have to put out $436,000 of city money to,
But we don't have to spend that money if we don't get the grant.
no, I get that, but if we do get the grant, we do have to spend that money.
And it's already in the CIP for those two total amounts. So we already have 218,000 budgeted for the bathrooms. But
Next
unfortunately,
year, right? Next year?
yes,
Okay.
but unfortunately, that is not enough money now, so, just looking at all of our, we've had multiple, quotes for restrooms for this year, and so just knowing that that's not gonna cover it, we thought this, adding it to this proposal would allow us to make up, that difference, the $50,000 that we're lacking in the 218,000, and leverage the funds that we do have, the total 436,000, to get another 100,000 in grant funding.
One thing you have to also realize, by this fitness trail and pollinator gardens, those are just big eye catchers to grab this DNR funding. When they see that kind of thing attached to a project, they're going to look at that before they're gonna look at somebody that's just gonna go for like splash pad.
Right.
So that we have the better opportunity yet. Now, the person I wanna hear from is Mr. Becker, can we make this work?
Yeah, the 436,000 that we would have to put out if we get the full grant amount is the amount that we have budgeted next year. 218 for the splash pad, 218 for the restrooms, that's 436,000. That is,
You're just taking the same money, you're just a year earlier potentially, right?
well, right now, this is about getting the grant. It would
Right.
still be expended next year as we
But
are
same money.
scheduled. It's the
Yeah.
same
That
money.
we have budgeted.
We've already earmarked the 436,000 for this, and this is just a way to get, hopefully, get an extra 300,000 that we don't have to put up.
I think we ought to let them get going on the grant. Right now, that's the key. If we don't get the grant, we shift gears, do something different. You can get awarded the grant and not use it. But if you don't apply for the grant, you're not gonna get it. And I hope one of you two girls are really good at writing grants.
Is that true? You can get a grant and not use it? I thought you had to use that grant.
You have the
Wait.
opportunity to accept the grant or decline it.
It's
But
probably
if you
unusual to-
accept it,
yeah.
you're using it.
Yes.
Yes, but that's what I mean. Either we accept it or we don't accept it.
Gotcha.
But we have to apply for it to even know if we're gonna get it.
I hear what you're clucking, chicken. I think we should at least attempt the grant.
I guess I have nothing against a grant, I just think all of a sudden we're putting out money for bathrooms, and I know that was next year.
Yeah, we're planning
Why,
on doing
but
it.
why get ahead of ourselves, so?
Because in order to do the
Both-
grant, we have to.
No, we don't
Both
have to do
The
that.
splash park and the bath restroom are on next year's budget. This money
Right.
will be, you have 2 years to expend this money, and it won't be allotted until July 1st of this year, so we'll have through July 1st of 2024 to use these funds.
So there you go.
So we're just planning ahead.
Yeah, but you don't have to have a bathroom on this to apply for the grant, right?
No, but right now, as it stands, we can't build the bathroom without additional funding. So this allows us to make that difference up. And you can't just apply for restrooms. Restrooms have to be an accessory to a larger project, which would be a splash park or other park amenities.
Okay.
You know me, Paul, I'd rather you get all the info.
Well, that's why I'm asking the
So
question.
if you have any questions, by all
just
means,
did.
ask away. I'd rather you be informed.
I think
If there's anything other, ask away. That's what they're all here for.
The
You still look like you're a little undecided, that's all.
the bottom of the splash pad, can you have a design in that?
Our city logo?
Yes.
We haven't gotten that far,
Oh,
but we
yeah, I
can
know,
certainly make
but
the request.
something to think
It's
about.
possible though,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah, it's
feasible?
possible. It's just stamping in the concrete or staining it.
Yeah,
That's not a big
that would
deal.
look
I think
pretty,
it looks sweet.
yep, especially from the air.
Yeah,
Put that logo
when
right.
you fly your helicopter.
You blew it up that big, I remember
When
that.
I'm coming from work in my
Can we
helicopter.
blow it up bigger, Josie?
I don't have any
Real big.
interest in spending that money anyway, so I don't think we should be going for the grant, but that's a lot of money we could be putting back in the taxpayers' pockets instead.
Either way, if we get the grant, if we accept it, we can use it on, can we use it on portion of this project? I mean,
Well, it's possible that they won't grant us all of the funding. So it's
Right.
possible that we'll just get a portion of it, and then, I don't know if they assign which?
They'll assign which portions of the grant that they would award, and we'll cover the funding of.
Like I said, it ain't gonna hurt anything for them to take the time to fill out for the grant forms.
Due to reporting requirements that I would imagine that go along with this grant, for what you apply for is what you should utilize the funds for, to answer your question.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
You must do that.
Yeah. So we were gonna spend $218,000 on a bathroom next year. Why are we gonna spend $218,000 and get $50,000 on a grant fund? So we're gonna have bigger, better bathrooms? Is that what the deal is, or?
So right now, the bathrooms are 50,000 over budget.
Oh, okay, so
So
this is,
what we
because it's
have
over budget.
budgeted is the 218 that will not build a restroom for us.
Okay.
So if we want the restrooms, that 50,000 will get us there. And this grant, packaging this grant is how we get there without having to put up more city money.
I don't know, I lean on Mr. Becker all the time, and it's, and his whole thing is that we're keeping our tax rate like this, or slow increments. And if he's already got it in the budget for next year, which we wouldn't start this project till next year anyway. And that's including the splash pad and the bathroom at that time. So applying for this grant is just their time applying for this grant at this time. We don't have to accept the grant.
And I think 4 years ago, the council made it very clear to Mr. Becker that we wanted amenities, but we didn't want to raise taxes. How do we do it? And he's spent plenty of due diligence doing just that.
And if we submit for the grant and we get a response from the state that provides some amount of funding, we will have to accept it. And when you do that, the council would be informed, here are the parameters. This is what the money can be used for. This is the amount. Do you want it or do you not? And that's, you know, council hasn't committed to anything. It's just to, yes, we like the plan, let's go forward with it and see what happens. And then it's once there is an award, if it's in our favor, then it's again now back to the council to actually accept it and say, yes, we agree to the terms that the state has put forth, that we will spend this money on X, Y, Z. Yes, we agree with that, we'll go forward. Or, no, we don't like that, we won't go forward. That's also an option of the council.
And then another city gets the money.
I would
Yes.
like to add, though typically, and I'm not sure on this one exactly, and maybe Celsign could touch on this point, but typically when you apply for a grant and if you do not accept it, it doesn't make you more eligible next time around. It instead kind of leaves a mark that you've applied and not accepted funds. Do you know if the state one is similar
That
to
is
most?
true with state
So
funding.
it is worthy to have a good discussion. I mean, we do know that we're back up against this deadline here, and it is on the agenda this evening, which can be pulled or modified or however council sees fit. But it is worth a majority consensus from committee to move forward with it. So we're not applying for something that we think is unlikely to move forward. Just my thoughts.
We would appear to the state like we didn't have our ducks in a row.
Are you looking for direction? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, we would like
Well, there's
direction.
two of
on-
us saying it wouldn't
I'd
hurt
say-
to apply for it.
I'd say apply for the grant.
I'm not supporting it.
If it's already in the budget for next year, so, yeah, if we can save some money.
There's two that's not and three that is.
Then my recommendation is that we keep it on the agenda this evening, but instead of having it on consent, we move it up to a business item so it can be voted upon.
I agree.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Now we can move back to the city council agenda request by Mr. Ben Smith. If you would mind stepping up to the podium, Mr. Smith, state your name and address for the record. Finally, nice to meet you in person.
My name is Ben Smith. I live at 27.
Can you turn the mic on there, Mr. Smith, so it turns green?
You
Perfect.
didn't tell me that.
Sorry, I didn't.
My name is Ben Smith. I live at 27430 Polk Street here in Isanti. Thank you for allowing me to address the council. I wanted to address the council with regard to an incident that took place around February 21st of this year. We had a snowfall the weekend prior, pretty significant snow. And I live just outside of the city limits. Whereas it's kind of been a split thing where sometimes Athens Township takes care of the snow in front of my place, and then at other times Isanti, the city of Isanti, takes care of the snow removal. With that inconsistency, there's been some buildup this year. Specifically this year, I haven't had in this issue that I faced this year in past years. And on about the 21st of February, one of the City of Isanti trucks was taking the snow and essentially there had been an accumulation of snow and or drifting. When the truck hit I'll just say the drift, it took out approximately 6 panels of my vinyl fencing. that sits off the road. Again, I've never had any problems in the past. I've just coming in today to see if there was any way to work out a solution to this. You know, on the 22nd, I did give Matt Sylvester a call to address the incident. I just wanted to be diplomatic about it. It was brought to my attention that Mr. Sylvester was aware of the incident the day prior, and he had also gotten some pictures from a city employee. When I called Mr. Sylvester, I guess this is what has me upset. I didn't feel at all like there was no apology given, almost argumentative, trying to state the case as to why the city was not liable for the destruction of my fence. And it seemed like I was under the attack upon making the phone call. I then pleaded a couple things, that, you know, it's not a mailbox, it's, you know, off the road. I never had a problem in the past. You're plowing on a street that's not within the city of Isani, and a couple other points that I made. To Mr. Sylvester's credit, when he called me back the day after with the solution that I could address or fill out the proper paperwork to be able to address city council, it was a lot better conversation at that point. So that's what finds me here. I was just kind of trying to address the council to see if there's any way that we could get some sort of resolution towards this, meet in the middle. Like I told Mr. Sylvester on the first phone call, I'm very easy to work with. You know, it's just that I've got 6 panels of fencing laying on the ground right now that were taken out by one of the city trucks.
What seems fair to you on this?
I'm willing to take care of all the labor in putting it up. I've personally put in every single post and every rail of fencing around my property. I would take care of all that if the city would reimburse me for the damages. Right now,
So the material, right, that you're talking about?
just material, sir. I'm suspecting, and I haven't checked prices as of recent, but when I bought the fence, it was essentially about $20 per post, $20 to $25 per post, and about $30 per rail.
And how many posts and rails did you say go out?
Right now, and of course, I haven't been through the snow drift, so excuse me for that, but I'm speculating about 6 posts and 24 rails, sir.
Got the math on that, Mayor?
4 for sure.
I'm doing it.
I say, I count 4 for sure in the picture.
I count 4 in there too. I didn't know where the 6 was coming from.
Yeah, and the reason I put 6 is because that was on either end, and I don't know yet whether they're cracked or not. So again.
I take that back. I count 5.
5, yep.
So, and again, I'm not trying to, I would give a fair assessment after I'm able to get to it. I haven't been able to physically put my hands on it. So I just wanted to let that be known.
$350, give or take. $350 to $400 to just. Here's the deal on this: is I'm partially guilty on this because our city trucks go down that road and they make a U-turn right at that intersection to come back in the city.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Wood, I believe you were in that conversation where we talked to that township, and we said, well, we could plow that road. This is that road, correct?
This is one of the roads that we have a split jurisdiction on, because we do have property on one side of the road, so we do, are required to plow on one side but not the other, so it's considered a split jurisdiction road. It was discussed that we wouldn't lift up the blade, put it down, lift it up just right at that property that is within city limits because of the unsafe condition of the furlough that it would leave, that potential cars could spin out or something if they hit it at whatever speed. It could be dangerous. So the plow driver does go down to that intersection and does come back. I think to what, I'm not sure, obviously I wasn't there with part of the conversation, but just to give council the context of what we have with our snow plowing policy, which I did reach out to our city attorney on this item, is that we still would follow our snow plowing policy, which I believe is what Mr. Sylvester had shared with Mr. Smith. Is that if there is snow that hits something that's in the right-of-way or in the boulevard, we don't replace it. If it's hit by the blade, we do. So that is something that should be discussed if we want to change that precedence or if we want to change our snow plowing policy, just for instances like this, so staff is clear and has direction. and can facilitate good conversations when these accidents do occur. The fence is in the right-of-way per reaching out to our city engineer as well as talking to Athens Township. From the center line, the fence is approximately 29 feet, give or take a few inches or so, and the right-of-way is 33 feet from the center line road.
I'd like to caution that statement because it's never been established as a four-rod road. There's never been a road document established with that. So we're getting on a mix of words because I've researched this about 3 years ago just to address it. It's never been established as a four-rod road with the proper road documentation. It was just assumed as right-of-way. And there was no covenant going forward on that. So
I'll just follow up my statement. That's what the township has informed us, that fence was in the right-of-way. I did not find documentation, nor did I look for documentation, which we can do if that's what council desires us to look into this further. But per the township, it is in the right-of-way.
thank you.
I'm curious what, Mr. Sylvester, you probably investigated this the most. What's your assessment of the situation?
There does end up being a lot of drifting there. I don't think that I don't think we should pick the plow up, set the plow down. I do think that we should go to the end, make the corner, treat it like every other road in town. I think if we don't do that, it's gonna be unsafe. I think that the fence being in the right of way, being where it's at, whether it is or not, the farther north you go on Polk, the closer the fence does get to the road. So there is potential down the road of doing damage to the fence again. It does have a lot of drifting there, and it will push a wall of snow back, but we gotta get it off the road. So,
I will say what I believe is kind of linked to the incident is I used to work for Public Works. I'm now in the utilities, so I've operated a plow truck before. I'm not trying to claim it professional, but when you're coming to the stop sign, the plow trucks are losing momentum, obviously, with being able to take the snow, and they've essentially dropped a lot at that corner. Yes, drifting had a lot to do with it. I think you and I talked about that on the second conversation. But over time, because they're losing momentum and speed and stopping for the stop sign and then making that turn, sometimes they feathered around the corner, as in bringing the blade forward, distributing it around the corner. Other times, they're not. So with that, there's been a buildup, and if anybody, of course, would drive down there, they'd see that. It's unlike that at any other point in the intersection. So I guess with that, I would just make that statement. And I don't think in this case that, we talked whether it was right away, 29 and a half feet versus 33 feet. In this instant, I don't see it would have made a difference in the 4 feet in the fence being wrecked.
What's weird though is you said the fence is closer to the road to the north, but none of that got touched. This is further back.
yeah, there's not as much drifting on the north end of his property as versus the south end where
So a lot of
the
it
field
was
is there. I don't know if that's your pasture or what. There's a lot more drifting.
And there's
once
more
you get-
trees to the north and stuff on the
Yeah.
other side of the road
Correct.
too, so.
Well, that and the trucks have good momentum towards the north, so they're keeping a steady flow of snow, so to speak. And then as they're slowing down, it's all piling right at that corner. And, even right now with 2 days of melting, we've got darn near a 6-foot pile. I mean, it's almost to the bottom of the stop sign.
Is it possible, like when we're plowing that road, continue doing what you're doing, but just wrap that corner, dump it off, back up, and then head north again?
No, I'm not there. I don't know
Just
what
with the
Mr. Smith is
drifting
seeing, but
issues,
if we don't wrap the corner, or if he has stopped and picked everything up and made the corner, that is not normal plowing procedure. It would be the only place in town that he would do that. He would not do that anywhere else, so I find it hard to believe that he would do it there. My operator's got a lot of years' experience. He would drive around the corner and
And then dump it
And dump
back.
it.
That's what I'm getting at.
To get it off, as
Yeah.
well, to get it off the road
Yeah.
as much into the shoulder as you can. And there is just a lot of snow. There's just a lot of snow right there.
Yeah.
And then addressing the council, like I said, I have witnessed where it has been done, and thankfully, and there's been times where it just hasn't. It made a very sharp, maybe turn to the right, and then a quick turn so that he doesn't have to back up. So we had the turning radius and still use the intersection to make the turn. We're right around the corner, just past the stop sign and then make a quick turn to get back around. So just FYI. But I think if we, again, proceeded around the corner to help distribute some of that snow would help greatly if y'all are going to continue to plow to the intersection.
Guess I would just recommend that, just reiterate to the guys, just, wrapping the corner.
I think it's an easy fix on doing just that.
Yeah.
But what do we do about a broken fence?
Like Matt said, what if it happens again and it's still just due to the drifting? The weight of that snow sitting on the fence posts.
And just to address the council on some concern, obviously never not had this problem in the previous 4 years. We are proactively, if drifting is even a percentage of the contribution of this, we're going to probably end up putting a snow fence in the middle of our field to try to eliminate, because it's not just my fence that we're concerned about. I'm sure if you've talked to your drivers or whoever's been down the road, it's a safety concern, that when, that portion of the road has not been plowed, or the plowing has been inconsistent. Literally, it's sat for days with that snow drifted across to past center line. So for that reason and that reason only, just the safety aspect of it, I intend on putting a snow fence prior to next season.
Comments, concerns, suggestions?
My suggestion is, I agree with Mr. Sylvester, this is really a bad area because it's not actually the city's road.
Right.
This is Athens. They're doing Athens a justice. We're doing this because it becomes unsafe if we lift the blades. My personal opinion, I'd give you the $350 right now, pay it off, fix the fence, but it's a one-time deal. Because it's not our street.
Right.
It's not our street. That whole section over there has been a nightmare since we annexed that portion in town. It's been a nightmare. It's caused a lot of grief for this council.
What was the agreement made with Athens?
There's none of.
We actually don't have a written agreement with Athens. The agreement that went through council, which is on our other split jurisdiction roads and part of Polk, just doesn't go down to his property, is with Isani Township. So we have multiple townships with split jurisdiction roads.
Who am I thinking of that if we did their snow removal, or was it the grass, or?
You're thinking of the gravel on the sides of the roads and
That's what I'm
stuff like,
thinking.
that's with Isani Township.
Okay.
Which
But
does,
is this Iceni or that? This is Athens.
he lives in
Yeah.
Athens,
Yes.
yeah. This
Yeah.
stretch of road is Athens, down to the south
Wrong
side of
township,
Athens.
never mind.
But it goes from city to Isani Township to Athens Township.
Yeah.
Councilman
It's-
Lundin, you said $350. I think Mayor said $650. You're talking about
What
splitting
did
this
you say
with...
it was?
Are you splitting this with Athens, or what's your...
No.
You said 5 posts.
Do you know
No,
approximately
he
how much
he
those
said
cost?
6.
Like I had said, I put 6 because I can't see the one posted. So it's 5 or 6 posts and approximately 24 rails. And when I say that, if a rail is, I get out there and a rail's not busted, they're 16-foot rails. It looks like there's the majority are going to be. What if one's not busted? I'm not gonna, be wanting that from the city. That just doesn't make sense.
Do you know approximately how much each rail costs?
Yeah, the rail's about $40 a piece, I believe, and the posts are $20, $25 a piece.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, you're potentially...
Come on,
less
math
than
man.
$500.
I'm waiting for the numbers guy.
About $1,100 if we have to actually put together all
You
the...
have 11.
Oof. Where did I get 350? See why I don't do
I
the
thought, I
math?
thought you did 650.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I don't do the math.
Well, there's 3 rails. 3 rails?
4.
There's 4, so we can't even see 2 of the rails because they're buried
Yeah,
in the
they're
snow.
buried under the snow.
I'd be okay splitting the cost, but, and not doing it again. I think part of it, you know, is it our fault, is it the drifting fault, is it, you know, I mean, I'd split the cost, and then I think that's, everybody's equally unhappy that way.
And to just, without getting into big negotiations, like I said, I'm very easy to work with. I think if we take the value of what it would be, potentially be to replace it and split it in half, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
And then I'll do the labor.
No, that sounds fair to me.
I'm all right.
550?
all right.
I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it, but like I said, one-time forgiveness, you know, it's a bad situation.
It is. The only thing I would ask, and it doesn't pertain to me, it's just, it's the other passers-by, is that we maintain some consistency. If I sand because of the safety and coming to the convenience of coming in the road, that we have more consistency with that. That way, it doesn't flow to the center line like it has been, you know, and it cause, you know, somebody an incident that.
That's not a snow emergency road, so we're not Johnny on the spot with it. But generally, I thought it would take us 3 days at most to get to that.
That gets done pretty quick.
I thought so.
We go out and plow initially, and then if we have drifting in town, we'll take care of our drifting. We know 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, Isani Parkway, we know the areas that have drifting. This being Athens Township, I don't go back out and check it after we've initially plowed it. The drifting we would have wouldn't drift on the road. Drifting across the road, and my stance would be Athens Township should now take care of their road. I go down there to plow, so it's safety for my guy, go down there, turn around, go back the other way. It's just, there's no place for us to turn around. When I talked to Isani Township, they wouldn't go all the way to the end. They had a field approach they could turn around and go back the other way. We don't have that opportunity. We have to go down the end to turn the truck around. So being we're down there, we're just plowing it to the end. I'm
I
not
think-
going back to take care of the drifting there, because that would then go to Athens Township.
I think we should maybe, after this year, we should sit down with Athens and figure out something to do there. I mean, you know, I totally get what Ms. Wood is saying, it's, you know, if we lift the blade, now all of a sudden we got a potential problem. I mean, I even hate it when you, just like Whiskey Road, you go down our main drags, you come out and you wing it, and you got snow drift, you know, snow pile in the street, but it's the county's responsibility to clean it. Even the state highway, when they go through and they do the, you know, the cutoffs, whatever you wanna call them, they leave piles in there. I hate it also, but what else are you going to do? I mean, but I think we should get into a conversation with Athens, their plowing department, and see if we can come up with an applicable situation on that.
We can do that. I agree.
But I'm in agreeance, I'd split the cost with him, he's gonna put it up, one-time deal. It's a bad situation, it's not our, we're not breaking our snow plowing policy by doing this at this point, because it's really not even our area.
But that's, yeah, and that's a long ways actually from the spot where they turn around. So,
It's almost to the end. You know, this is John Bartz's old house.
yeah, but you see how the picture's broke here. They go all the way down here to turn around. So, I don't know why they would be dumping snow there, that far away from where they're gonna turn around.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just the amount of drifting that comes in there. It's more for the wing to push off, and
Nobody can.
when it's heavy, wet snow, it can fly a good distance.
Well, like I said,
Snow fence would definitely,
And I think if you're getting a snow fence up there next year will help.
I'm from Ohio. My parents farm a lot. I mean, we put up many, many hundreds of feet of snow fence, so I'm quite familiar with it. And I think that'd probably be the best solution, like I said, for the safety of everyone coming down the road.
Yep.
I do have a couple questions, just for clarification. So because we don't know exactly how many rails and how many posts, does the city want to receive the numbers from Mr. Smith, or do you want that to be inspected by the city, or how do we want to do that, given that we will have to wait a little bit longer with our warm temps, shouldn't be too long. But what does the council want for the actual count of replacement of the material?
Well, kind of the way I looked at it, what the numbers he gave us is that, say it's $1,100, and we splitting that at $550 at this point. Mr. Smith is moving on, we're getting resolved, and we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Okay, so Typically, when we, if we have something that we can pay for within our budget, this doesn't exceed our purchasing policy, so we can do that approximately $650 without going to council. We would need a copy of the receipt back. Let's just say you got it from Menards or Sherwin or whoever you get that from. We would pay 50% up to $650. However, with.
$550.
or $550.
Yeah.
$550.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's,
$550.
we came to 1,100 is what Mike said, and Mr. Smith has agreed to that. And
Does the council want that to go actually as a consent item, that it would only be repaired one time? Because that's not, that is language that would not be typical with just a purchase to have that. If we want that documented, that need to go through council, or what are your thoughts on that?
What doesn't exceed our,
no, I think what
No,
she's
one
saying,
time.
one-time thing, add
So
it
it's
to the consent
documented.
agenda so the language is in there and it's done.
we're
That's all
not
I need.
hiding anything, we're explaining it all.
We,
Be done with it.
our hands are like this at times.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, Mr. Smith, you can just, work with me when you get your receipt, and then we'll get that processed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
I do have one question for you, Mr. Smith. What are them horses you have?
Belgian.
Them thing, you ever seen them horses? They look like Clydesdales.
How long ago did you buy that from John?
Almost 5 years ago.
God, it just seemed like it was just a couple of years ago.
Belgian horses, they're like,
They look like
big teddy
Clydesdales. They're
bears.
beautiful horses, but they're ginormous.
I think they're more gentler, in my experience, than the Clydesdales.
They are, they're a bigger bone horse, and my 2 wheels are about 2,500 piece, and my leads are about 2,000 piece.
And you do sleigh rides there.
Sleigh rides, and I have a small horse and carriage business. We use them,
Good to know.
so.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you all very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bet. Thank you.
Anything else we need to add to this, Ms. Wood?
No, Mayor, I do not believe that we have anything else to add.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Burgley,
Second.
second by Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, therefore we stand adjourned.